Ayla had always dreamed of a honeymoon by the sea. Not a crowded resort, not a noisy beach full of tourists. She wanted something quiet, something romantic, something hers. So when her husband Farhan found an old lighthouse for rent on a small, isolated island, she clapped her hands with joy. "It's been converted into a guest house," Farhan said, showing her the pictures on his phone. "Only one couple can stay there at a time. Just us, the sea, and the stars." They had been married only 2 weeks. Everything still felt new, his hand finding hers without thinking, her laugh at his bad jokes, the quiet comfort of falling asleep beside someone who was now family. A week at a lighthouse, away from the world, sounded perfect. They took a small boat to the island. The boatman was an old man with a weathered face and eyes that seemed to carry more than his years. He barely spoke during the journey, but as he dropped them at the small wooden dock, he said something strange. "The light must never go out. Not for one moment. No matter what you hear." Farhan laughed it off. "Old sailor superstition," he whispered to Ayla. "Every lighthouse has a story like that." The boatman did not laugh with them. He simply turned his boat around and left, faster than he had arrived. The lighthouse stood tall and white against the grey sky, its lamp room glowing faintly even in daylight. Inside, it had been beautifully restored wooden floors, a cozy bedroom on the second level, a small kitchen, and a spiral staircase leading all the way up to the light itself. A caretaker met them briefly, explained how to keep the lamp fueled and burning through the night, and left before sunset, just like the boatman had. "Odd," Ayla said, watching the caretaker's boat shrink into the horizon. "Doesn't anyone stay the night here with the guests?" "Guess we're the only company this old place gets," Farhan smiled, wrapping his arms around her from behind. "Just us." That night, they lit candles, cooked a simple dinner, and danced barefoot on the wooden floor to music from Farhan's phone. For a few hours, the world outside, the creaking walls, the howling wind, the strange warning from the boatman, disappeared completely. Then, just after midnight, the first knock came. The second night was worse. They had barely fallen asleep when Ayla woke to the sound of someone whispering her name. Not Farhan's voice. A voice that sounded like it was coming from inside the walls themselves, layered, as though several voices were speaking together, slightly out of time with one another. "Ayla! Ayla! Come up to the light." She shook Farhan awake, and he heard it too this time. His face went pale in the moonlight. They lay frozen, holding each other, as the whispering continued for what felt like hours. It moved, first from the wall near their bed, then from the ceiling above, then, impossibly, from somewhere beneath the floorboards, as though whatever it was could pass through solid stone without effort. Near dawn, the whispering stopped abruptly. But this time, something new happened. The single lamp they'd left burning on their nightstand flickered violently and went out completely, plunging the room into total darkness, even though there was no wind inside to blow it and plenty of oil left in its base. In the sudden blackness, Ayla felt cold breath against the back of her neck. She screamed. Farhan fumbled for his phone, turned on its light, and swept it across the room. Nothing. No one. Just the two of them, hearts pounding, in an empty room with a lamp that should not have gone out. By the third day, both of them wanted to leave. But there was no boat scheduled to return for 4 more days, and no way to call for one. The island had no signal, no radio, nothing but the lighthouse and the sea. "We just need to survive until the boat comes back," Farhan said, trying to sound braver than he felt. "We keep the big lamp burning." That's what the old man said. Maybe that's what's keeping us safe, even a little. They spent the day preparing, closing every curtain, checking every lock, telling themselves stories of logical explanations that neither of them believed anymore. That night, they decided to stay awake together in the lamp room itself, beside the great light, believing perhaps that its glow would protect them. For hours, nothing happened. The light spun steadily, its beam sweeping across the black water in slow, hypnotic circles. Ayla began to feel that maybe, just maybe, they would be fine. Then the flame inside the great lamp began to dim, not flicker, but shrink, as though something invisible was pressing down on it, smothering it inch by inch. "No, no, no," Farhan whispered, grabbing more oil, trying to feed the flame back to life. But it kept shrinking, no matter what he poured in. Around them, The temperature dropped so sharply that their breath turned visible in the air. And then they heard it, not whispering this time, but something between a growl and a groan, low and full of hunger, coming from every corner of the small room at once. The shape Ayla had seen on the rocks now stood at the top of the spiral staircase, filling the doorway completely. It had no face they could clearly see, only shifting shadow, tall as the ceiling, its edges moving like smoke caught in wind. Farhan grabbed Ayla's hand. "Don't look at it. Don't look away from the light. Keep the light going, no matter what." Together, cupping their hands around the dying flame, they fed it every last bit of oil they had, whispering prayers neither of them remembered learning, refusing to turn toward the growling shadow that circled them slowly, testing, waiting, hungry for the moment the light might finally die. The flame caught. It roared back to life, bright and full, throwing the shadow shape back against the far wall, where it hissed a sound like wind through a narrow crack and dissolved into the dark corners of the room, gone as suddenly as it had come. Silence returned. Only the steady turning of the great light, sweeping its beam across the sea, remained. Neither of them slept again that night, nor the next, nor the one after. They took turns, one always awake, one always watching the flame, refusing to let it dim even for a second. Every night, the whispering returned, the scratching returned, the cold, hungry presence circled closer, but the light held, and so did they. On the fourth day, the boat finally returned. The same old boatman stood at the dock, his weathered face unreadable as he watched them stumble down from the lighthouse, pale, exhausted, but alive. "You kept the light burning," he said. "It wasn't a question." "What is that thing?" Farhan asked, his voice shaking. "What lives in there?" The old man looked back at the white tower behind them, its lamp still glowing faintly even in daylight. "Something that has always lived on that rock," he said quietly, "long before the lighthouse was built. The light keeps it away. That's the only reason anyone still lives to tell you about it." He said nothing more. He guided them onto the boat, and as the island shrank behind them, Ayla turned back one final time. For just a moment, she thought she saw the tall, shifting shadow standing at the very top of the lighthouse, watching them leave, waiting, patiently, for the next light to grow careless, even if just for a moment. Farhan held her hand tightly the whole way back, and neither of them spoke of the lighthouse again, though for years after, whenever the power went out in their home, even for a second, both of them would sit in silence, hearts racing, until the light came back on.